Alrighty. As I said, I was, sitting on a shitter, and a revelation came to me of what atheism might be and possible ways of fixing it. Although, admittedly, those would be mine, not necessarily what I was getting. Well, can you definitely say this is something from the gods? No, at this point I cannot. But it was interesting that it did come to me, and just kind of out of the blue, sort of. Well, what are you talking about, Bond? Okay, well, make a long story short. Here's the deal, all right? Those of us in the know, those of us that are spiritual and into supernatural things, and have knowledge of that sort of thing, we know that a good portion of that is achieved via the pineal gland, right? Who's to say that the pineal gland might be infected by certain chemicals and as a result become covered in a crystalline structure that inhibits that individual's acknowledgement of the supernatural realm? Hadn't thought of that, had you? I didn't think of it either until I was sitting on the shitter. And then it's like, oh my gosh. Well, that would make atheism a medical condition. And if we could figure out how to remove this crystalline covering over the pineal gland, brought about by illegal drugs, brought about by certain chemical compounds, brought about by maybe even GMO foods, who the fuck knows. But if we could figure out how to reverse this chemical reaction to the pineal gland and stop it from crystallizing, obviously whole foods being one of the big primary targets right there. You start eating wholesome again, raw carrots, raw vegetables and fruits, and your meat, don't get processed meat, get meat from an actual range. Start eating more healthy, start eating more raw foods where possible, and see what happens, and see if that crystalline crust over the pineal gland starts to break down and shatter. Because if it does, I was thinking about this. I said, man, if we could get everyone's pineal gland to fully open, you wouldn't have to tell an atheist there was supernatural. You wouldn't have to tell an atheist there's a God. You wouldn't have to tell an atheist that spiritual and supernatural exists, because the pineal gland is the source of all that shit. It's where all that shit is attuned to, and by God, they'll see the shit for themselves. They won't need me to tell them anything. They'll find out for their own. But it's getting that crystalline crust, if you will, because the idea is, oh well, the pineal gland itself is crystallizing. No, not according to what I got on the shitter. And it's fine. I know I'm going to get all kinds of fucking cracked up jokes over this, but seriously, it's the pineal gland is not crystallizing, okay? Because that's one of the things that's out there is, well, the pineal gland itself is crystallizing. No, because if that was the case, none of us would have any supernatural or spiritual at all. And that's not true. Okay, so that's not it. What it is, it's a crust. It's a buildup, okay, of secretion that builds up over the pineal gland, making it difficult to perceive spiritual and supernatural things. And once we can figure out how to break that shit down to where that it passes through the body and their pineal gland is open again, and including opening up ours even more, those of us that are still spiritual and believe in the supernatural, once we figure out how to go after that, how to attack that, that covering that is over the pineal gland, once we figure out how to break it down into the subatomic if possible, and then just pass it right out the body. Once we figure that shit out, you won't need to tell an atheist that God exists. You won't need to tell an atheist that angels, demons, the supernatural, the spiritual exists, because all they got to do is waltz out their door and they're like, holy shit, look at all this stuff, you know. You won't have to tell them a damn thing, all right? But it's figuring out how to get, you know, wholesome foods is a good start, but I suspect that there might have to be more involved in that. I don't want to say that, you know, that I definitively know how to remove this shit, because that's a lie. I'm still learning this myself. But, you know, once you know the problem, then finding a solution isn't quite that difficult, right? So we need to figure out what the solution is. We need to figure out how to stop this the formation of this crystalline covering, because, like I said, listen to me carefully. As my oatmeal pie disintegrates on me, damn. Listen, the pineal is not crystallizing. It is a covering. It is a covering. And we get rid of that covering, everyone opens up. It'll be awesome, man. And I thought, well, maybe that's something that the gods can do when they come back, is remove that that crystalline crap off of our pineal glands. But let me stress, in the strongest of terms, that the pineal gland itself is not crystallizing. It's some kind of a film or goop or whatever that's around it, over it, covering it. Everyone's pineal gland is still okay. It's just got that goop all over it. We get that goop off of it, everybody will become enlightened almost instantly. We can figure out how to get rid of that shit. And like I said, this is, you know, it's probably something that would either take an act of the gods, or it would take a great deal of time, you know, because this shit wasn't done overnight. Okay, it took years and years and years for this to happen. But I can't stress enough that the message I felt I was getting was that, no, your pineal gland is fine. It's just like a covering and a blockage of some kind. It's some kind of chemical substance around the pineal gland. All right. So what we need to do then is we need to figure out how to break it, you know. And like I said, eating wholesome foods is a good start. I don't think that's the only thing we'll have to do, but it's a good start. And you know, and like I said, you know, I think, you know, if an atheist's pineal gland is opened up and is not being blocked in any way, I won't need to tell them that God exists. I won't need to tell them that there's angels and demons and all kinds of cool shit out there to explore and be fascinated by. I get fascinated by the spiritual and supernatural. I am fascinated by it, and it's and in many ways it's beautiful. You know, yes, there's evil out there. Yes, there's bad things out there, but there is so much good out there as well, and that's the thing about it. You know, but anyway, I was just you know, I was just taking a dump and boom, you know. You know, now you say, well, you know, people laugh at that. Oh, well, you know, well, Vaughn's the porcelain prophet or some shit like that, you know. No, what it is anytime you get good and quiet, that's the best time for the gods to impart shit to you. Doesn't matter whether you're on the shitter or in the bed asleep or whatever. Anytime you're quiet and alone and you're not besieged by all kinds of noise and distraction. That's the best time for the gods to just zip something in there, and it's like, oh wow, where the hell did that come? That's cool, you know. So that's one of those situations. I just happen to be quiet and not really doing much, and it's like zap. Oh wow, the pineal gland of all things, you know. Of all the things to think about when you're on the shitter, I just happen to think about the pineal gland. No, of course not. Of course not. Obviously, there's more to it than that, right? But, can I say 100% that this is something that the gods have imparted? Not really, but I'd say it's kind of high. I'd give it 80% or something to that effect, And I think that's the mailman. In fact, I'm almost certain it is. But yeah, I just thought I would throw this out there and see what you all thought, because it is quite interesting. Can you imagine if there is imagine no atheists? Imagine no communism, because, think about it. Once everybody's pineal gland is fully opened up and they're seeing all this supernatural shit going on, and they're able to perceive things in a much better and a much more thoughtful way. Communism dies, socialism dies, fascism maybe not, I don't know. Probably does, though, probably needs to. But any form of atheism, any form of untowards in regards to the supernatural spirit, it's gone, man. It's gone. Once your pineal gland is fully open, man, no, atheism can't exist. Atheism cannot coexist in the same environment as an open pineal gland. It just can't. So, I just thought that was an interesting thing to have pop in my head, and I thought I'd share it with you, because usually when I share things like this with you, months, 2 months, 3 months, a year later, they end up coming to pass, don't they? So, we'll see. But I just thought this was an interesting thing, and if we can somehow figure out how to get rid of that crusting, because one of the things I want to stress, whether you believe it was of the gods or not, one thing I want to stress is that it was imparted to me that the pineal gland is fine. There's nothing wrong with your pineal gland. It's just that various chemicals, various anomalies, whatever, and you got this encrusting, this crust over the pineal gland. Crystalline in nature, according to many, according to some. I don't know, crystalline, but it's a crystalline type, and it somehow inhibits your ability to perceive the supernatural. And so, getting this gotten rid of would be a boon to everyone, but it would mostly destroy atheism. Atheism would be destroyed right there. Boom, gone. Be totally gone. In my humble opinion, it would be totally destroyed at that point. Because when you're perceiving the supernatural everywhere you go, you can't be an atheist. Look at me. From the time I was a little kid, man, seeing angels and demons and spirits of all kinds, experiencing supernatural things everywhere I go, literally just about, right on up until this time. I have been a lot of things. I have been a Buddhist. I have been a Taoist. I have been a Satanist. I have been a Christian. I have been, various and sundry other things. But one thing I've never been is an atheist. Why? Because the supernatural is literally all around me, and I know this. I'm cognizant of it. And so there would never be a time when I would harbor atheism. Never. Now, there's been times I got pissed off at the gods, and of course I got punished for it too. But, as far as, ever being an atheist, no, I can't, because I've seen so much shit. I've seen way too much. You reached me too late, as the old saying goes. I've seen too much, man. There's no way in hell I could ever be an atheist because of everything I've seen and experienced. And I, as I stated in somebody's live show, I said, look, man, I could never, I can't perceive better phrase. I can't perceive people that say there is no such thing as the supernatural or spiritual, because I've experienced it all my life. I can't go out this door without experiencing something supernatural or spiritual. It's a part of me. It's so much a part of me that there's no way I could ever harbor a thought like that. And so imagine then if everybody's pineal gland is suddenly opened because we found a cure, let's call it, that removes that gunk from over top of your pineal gland, so that you can get the signal again. You know, it's like a radio antenna. You can't get no signal because the damn signal's blocked by some kind of garbage over your antenna, so let's call it. You know, remove all that garbage from around your antenna, and then you're going to pick up the signal, and your eyes are going to be open, and it's going to be like, oh my God, you know, it's going to be amazing shit. And when that happens, whether it be a sovereign move of the gods or whether it be us figuring out how to remove this crystalline crap from on top of it, it would be amazing. It will be amazing. Just a crazy, crazy thing. But anyways, I just wanted to throw this at you, see what you thought. You know, like I said, the trolls and haters will probably make hay out of this damn thing. But I don't care, because, you know, finding out the truth is a hell of a lot more important than what some damn hater on YouTube says, right? So, you know, that's the goal. And besides, if I don't make you think, then I'm not doing my job, right? You know, I want you to think, man. I want you to figure this shit out, you know. And you may be the one that finds the cure, quote unquote, that removes the crystalline crap from off of our pineal glands, so that we can be even more spiritual and even more supernatural, and embrace more of what the gods have in store for us. Because the gods have a lot in store for us, I believe. But as long as that block is there, it's like an antenna that ain't getting a good signal, you know. We need to get a good signal. We need to get a good, strong signal. And you can't do that with all that crystalline crap over top of our pineal glands, okay? We get rid of that shit, and boom, man, we're gonna be blasting, right? Okay. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that at you and see what sticks, you know. See what you thought about it. Anyway, y'all have a pleasant day and a better tomorrow. Bye.